Assalamu alaikum, my name is Mufti Menk, and I welcome you to a sanctuary of peace, wisdom, and reflection. Here, together, we explore the reminders that strengthen our hearts and bring us closer to Allah. We will learn how worry weakens but trust strengthens, how patience is not passive but true power, how every hardship carries a hidden gift, and how sincere dua opens doors that no key can unlock. We will see that storms are always temporary while Allah's mercy is eternal, and how moving from worry to patience transforms lives. This channel is a journey of faith, hope, and resilience. If you seek strength for your soul and guidance for your path, then you are in the right place. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share these reminders so that together we can spread light and healing. When a person chooses to carry their worries alone, those worries grow heavier with each passing day. The mind becomes restless, the heart feels suffocated, and life starts to look darker than it really is. Worry is like a shadow that stretches far longer than the object that causes it. It magnifies what is small and makes it feel unmanageable. But the reality is, when you place your trust in Allah, that same worry which once felt like a mountain begins to dissolve into something you can climb over with peace and dignity. Trust in Allah is not simply a thought, it is a state of the heart, a deep certainty that no matter how impossible something may seem to you, it is never impossible for the one who says be, and it is. There are times when we feel as if no one understands what we are going through. The silence of the night becomes heavy, and the burden of overthinking keeps us awake. But it is in those very moments that Allah invites us to remember Him, to release what is crushing us into His care. Allah reminds us in the Quran, and whoever relies upon Allah, then He is sufficient for him. These words are not just comforting, they are a promise. Imagine carrying a heavy load on your shoulders, and someone strong enough to lift it with ease tells you, "Give it to me, I will carry it for you." Would you still insist on dragging it yourself? That is what we do when we refuse to trust Allah with our worries. Worry weakens because it drains the soul. It steals focus, it robs you of gratitude, and it blinds you to the blessings you still have. When a person worries, they live in a future that has not yet happened, or in a past that cannot be changed, and they lose the gift of the present moment. Trust, on the other hand, strengthens because it anchors you to Allah's wisdom. It reminds you that every step you take is already known by Him, every tear you shed is counted by Him, and every pain you endure is part of a plan designed by the one who loves you more than anyone else ever could. Sometimes you will find that the moment you surrender to Allah, the problems don't disappear instantly, but something greater happens. The anxiety in your heart begins to soften. You find yourself breathing differently, speaking differently, and facing life differently. This is because reliance on Allah transforms the way you carry your struggles. The problem may remain, but the crushing weight no longer controls you. Instead, you begin to see doors opening that you never imagined. You notice small mercies in the middle of your hardship, like a word of encouragement, a sudden ease, or a hidden strength you didn't know you had. The Prophet taught us that if we truly placed our trust in Allah the way He deserves, He would provide for us as He provides for the birds. They leave their nests hungry in the morning and return full in the evening. The bird does not sit still and wait, nor does it carry fear about tomorrow's food. It goes out, it tries, and it trusts. That balance is the essence of tawakkul, to work while knowing that the outcome is in Allah's hands. When you live this way, you free yourself from the poison of constant worry. Many of us think too much about things we cannot control. Will this problem ever end? Will people help me? What if I fail? What if it doesn't work out? These are natural questions, but if they consume us, they eat away at our peace. Allah's message is simple: trust me, I am with you. When Musa stood before the Red Sea with Pharaoh's army behind him, The people around him cried out, "We are overtaken." But Musa's heart was firm. He said, "No, indeed with me is my Lord, he will guide me." That is the power of trust. In a situation that seemed impossible, the sea was split, and what was once a place of fear became the very path of salvation. In our own lives, we may not face a sea parting, but we face moments where everything feels closed in. Bills to pay, health problems, family issues, disappointments that feel endless. It is in those moments that you must whisper to yourself, "With me is my Lord, he will guide me." The words may seem small, but they shift your entire perspective. Suddenly, your problem is no longer yours alone, it belongs to Allah, and He is the best of planners. There is also something remarkable that happens when you give your worries to Allah. You begin to experience gratitude in the middle of hardship. You realize that even while struggling, you are still blessed in countless ways. You notice that even as one door closes, another one quietly opens. This gratitude strengthens your heart, and that strength is what worry can never provide. Worry strips you of hope, but trust plants seeds of hope in the soil of patience. So ask yourself, what is heavier, carrying a load you cannot manage, or handing it over to the one who can manage everything? What is wiser, exhausting your mind with endless what-ifs, or resting your soul in the certainty of inna ma'al usri yusra? Indeed, with hardship comes ease. Your choice defines how you live. Either you live chained by fear of tomorrow, or you live free in the assurance that Allah is already taking care of tomorrow. The journey from worry to trust is not easy, but it is worth it. Each time you remember Allah in the middle of stress, each time you raise your hands and make dua instead of drowning in fear, you are building your strength. Slowly, you will find that life doesn't break you the way it used to. The same problem that once crushed you now becomes a lesson, a reminder, and even a blessing. Allah is training you through your difficulties, shaping you into someone stronger, wiser, and closer to Him. So when worry begins to whisper in your heart, respond with remembrance of Allah. When fear tells you you can't, remind yourself that Allah can. When your mind keeps replaying the same problems, silence it with the words, Hasbun, Allah, huwa ni'mal wakil. Allah is sufficient for us, and He is the best disposer of affairs. These words are not just a statement, they are a shield. They turn weakness into strength, despair into patience, and pain into purpose. Let go of what you cannot control. Place it in the hands of Allah, the one who never fails. Stop dragging the load that was never meant to be yours alone. Free your heart from the prison of worry and allow Allah's plan to carry you to a place of peace you could never reach on your own. The weight is only heavy until you hand it to Him. Patience is not weakness, it is one of the greatest strengths a believer can hold. To remain patient is not to do nothing, nor is it to sit back and watch life pass you by. Patience is active, it is alive, it is powerful. It is the ability to endure while trusting the wisdom of Allah, even when your heart trembles and your eyes fill with tears. Patience is standing tall in the middle of the storm, declaring with your heart and your tongue, Ya Allah, I trust you. That declaration is not empty. It is a sign of surrender to the one whose knowledge surrounds all things, whose mercy covers every weakness, and whose plan is always perfect, even when you cannot see it. So often, people think patience means silence, as though patience means to suppress every emotion and become numb to life. But patience is not about becoming numb, it is about becoming strong through the remembrance of Allah. Patience is not passive, it is the active choice to keep moving forward, to keep believing, to keep praying, even when everything inside of you tells you to give up. Patience is the believer's shield against despair, the believer's weapon against hopelessness, the believer's bridge over the deepest valleys of sorrow. Allah says in the Quran, "Indeed, Allah is with the patient." What more could a servant want than for Allah Himself to be with them? If Allah is with you, what can defeat you? If Allah is with you, what storm can break you? This is why patience is not weakness. Weakness is to surrender to despair. Strength is to surrender to Allah. When you say, "I will remain patient for His sake," you are not saying you will do nothing. You are saying you will endure with dignity, that you will wait with trust, that you will carry your burden with faith until Allah opens the way. The Prophet reminded us that patience is at the first strike of calamity. This means that true patience is not only in the waiting, but in how you react the moment hardship comes. Do you cry out in anger, or do you turn immediately to Allah? Do you let fear control you, or do you let faith guide you? That first response shapes the entire journey of your trial. If your first step is with Allah, then every step after that becomes lighter. If your first step is away from Him, the road only becomes darker. Think of patience like a tree. The roots of patience are planted deep in trust. The trunk is built from steadfastness, and the branches bear the fruits of peace, wisdom, and closeness to Allah. But the tree only grows when watered with remembrance, when nourished with dua, when sheltered by trust. Without those, it withers. With them, it stands strong even in the strongest winds. This is the reality of patience in the life of a believer. It is a living force, not a dead silence. Look at the life of Prophet Ayyub. He endured years of suffering, pain, and loss. His wealth was gone, his health was gone, his family was tested, yet his faith never left him. He did not sit in despair. He did not accuse Allah of abandoning him. Instead, he kept turning back to Allah with humility and devotion, saying, "Indeed, adversity has touched me, and you are the most merciful of the merciful." Those words capture the heart of patience, recognizing the pain, but never losing hope in Allah's mercy. And because of that patience, Allah restored him, healed him, and raised his status. Patience does not mean you stop trying. Patience means you keep striving, but without anxiety, knowing that the outcome rests with Allah. The farmer plants seeds and waits, but his waiting is not empty. It is filled with care, with watering, with nurturing the soil. That is patience effort combined with trust. In our own lives, patience means making dua with sincerity, seeking halal solutions, striving for good, while accepting that results belong only to Allah. When you remain patient, something amazing happens to your heart. You begin to find strength you never knew you had. The same trial that once terrified you begins to polish your soul. The hardship that once broke you begins to mold you into someone wiser, calmer, more reliant on Allah. This transformation cannot be bought. It cannot be learned in books. It is only earned through the lived experience of patience. That is why patience is such a beloved quality in the sight of Allah. There are times when your patience will be tested by people, by situations, by your own inner struggles. Someone may wrong you, and your heart burns to retaliate. Patience does not mean allowing injustice, but it does mean responding with dignity, with restraint, and with wisdom. It means not lowering yourself to the level of those who wrong you, but rising above with the strength of a believer who knows that Allah sees all. Every moment you choose patience over anger, you are rewarded by Allah, and that reward is greater than the satisfaction of momentary revenge. Patience also manifests in worship. When you are tired but you rise for Fajr, that is patience. When you hold your tongue from gossip, that is patience. When you give from your wealth even though you love it, that is patience. Patience is not only for calamities, it is for daily life, for every struggle between your desires and your faith. It is the quiet strength that guides you to choose Allah over your ego again and again. Remember that Allah's timing is never late. The waiting itself is part of the plan. Sometimes Allah delays what you want to give you something far better. Sometimes He withholds because He loves you too much to give you what would harm you. Your patience is the bridge between your dua and Allah's perfect answer. Each moment of patience is recorded, each tear is noticed, each breath of endurance is treasured by the Lord of the worlds. So do not confuse patience with weakness. Weakness is surrendering to fear. Patience is surrendering to Allah. Weakness is giving up. Patience is standing firm. Weakness is despairing. Patience is hoping in Allah's mercy. To whisper, Ya Allah, I trust you, when your heart is trembling, is one of the greatest acts of strength a believer can show. That whisper echoes in the heavens, and it brings the mercy of Allah closer to you than you can ever imagine. Your patience is not wasted. It builds you, it protects you, and it elevates you. It becomes the light that guides you through the darkest nights, the shield that guards you against hopelessness, and the key that unlocks doors you thought were sealed forever. Hold on to it even when it hurts, even when it feels unbearable, because patience is not passive, it is power, and with that power, Allah will carry you from your trembling to your triumph. Every hardship carries within it a gift, though at first glance it may look like nothing more than pain. What breaks you today may very well be the very thing that builds you tomorrow. Allah reminds us in the Quran, Allah does not burden a soul beyond that it can bear. This is not just a statement to console us, it is a declaration of our hidden strength. It is Allah telling you that if He has written a test for you, then within you lies the ability to endure it, to rise from it, and to grow because of it. You may feel fragile, you may feel like you are falling apart, but Allah knows you better than you know yourself, and He sees the strength in you that you cannot yet see. When you are in the middle of hardship, it is natural to only feel the weight of it. The mind asks, why me? The heart aches, the eyes shed tears, and it seems as though there is no light ahead. But what feels like breaking is often shaping. Just as a seed must break before it sprouts, just as the night must darken before the dawn, your trials often conceal blessings that will only reveal themselves later. At the moment, all you see is the breaking. But Allah sees the building. Think of the people whom Allah loved and chose as examples for us, the prophets. Each one endured immense hardship, yet their stories shine as beacons of faith. Prophet Yusuf was thrown into a well, sold as a slave, falsely accused and imprisoned. From the outside, it looked like a life of suffering, but each trial was a step in his journey toward honor and leadership, a journey that allowed him to save a nation and reunite with his family. What seemed like chains were in fact keys to a greater destiny. The same is true for us. The losses you suffer, the disappointments you face, the betrayals you endure, each one contains within it a hidden lesson, a hidden blessing, a hidden gift. Sometimes the gift is strength. Sometimes it is wisdom. Sometimes it is drawing you closer to Allah in a way that comfort never could. And sometimes the gift is hidden until years later, when you look back and realize that what you thought was destruction was actually the foundation of your growth. We often measure life by ease and comfort, but Allah measures us by patience and trust. Ease is a blessing, but hardship refines us. Ease may bring gratitude, but hardship brings depth. Ease may make us content, but hardship pushes us to call out to Allah in ways we never would otherwise. When you are broken in front of Allah, you are actually closest to Him. Your tears, your whispers in the dark of the night, your pleas of desperation, these are not signs of weakness. They are signs that your heart is alive and that you recognize your need for the most merciful. Allah says, for indeed, with hardship comes ease. Notice, He does not say after hardship, but with it, meaning that in the very hardship itself lies ease. Sometimes the ease is the strength Allah places in your heart to endure. Sometimes the ease is the people He sends to support you. Sometimes the ease is the perspective you gain, the clarity you discover, or the sins He erases through your patience. What you see as pure pain often carries within it hidden mercy. There are moments in life when you feel shattered, when everything you relied upon is taken away. Those moments strip you of illusions and bring you face to face with the reality that only Allah remains constant. That is a gift, because in those moments you learn reliance on Him, true tawakkul, in a way that prosperity never teaches. Prosperity can make us forget, but hardship makes us remember. Prosperity can make us arrogant, but hardship humbles us. Prosperity can make us depend on ourselves, but hardship reminds us to depend only on Allah. Consider how iron is purified. It is placed in fire so that the impurities burn away. Likewise, hardship is a fire that purifies the soul. The pain you feel is burning away arrogance, selfishness, attachment to worldly things, and replacing them with humility, empathy, and closeness to Allah. Without that fire, you may never know the depth of your own strength or the sweetness of your connection with your Lord. Even in the hardest of trials, there is always a hidden softness from Allah. You may not notice it immediately, but it is there. A kind word from someone, an unexpected opening, the resilience that rises in your heart, these are all signs that Allah is with you. If He brought you to it, He will carry you through it. What you think is the end may simply be the beginning of something greater. The Prophet told us, the greatness of the reward is tied to the greatness of the trial. When Allah loves a people, He tests them. This hadith is a reminder that hardship is not abandonment. It is attention. It is Allah drawing you closer, preparing you, elevating you. The more you endure with patience, the higher your station becomes. The purer your heart grows, the more beloved you become to Allah. That in itself is a gift beyond measure. When you face hardship, remind yourself that your pain is not wasted. Every tear is counted. Every moment of patience is recorded. Every silent prayer is heard. Nothing goes unnoticed by Allah. What you see as a breaking moment is actually a building moment in the unseen. One day, you will look back at this trial and realize it was not the end of you, it was the making of you. So the next time hardship strikes, instead of asking, "Why me?" ask, "What gift is Allah hiding for me in this?" That shift in perspective transforms everything. You stop seeing yourself as a victim and start seeing yourself as a student of Allah's wisdom. And with each hardship, your heart becomes softer, your patience grows stronger, and your trust in Allah deepens. Hardship will visit every soul, but those who turn to Allah through it will always find hidden treasures within it. Remember that no trial lasts forever, and no pain remains unchanged. With every breaking comes rebuilding, with every loss comes renewal, and with every hardship comes the gift of Allah's mercy. What breaks you today may indeed be the very thing that builds you tomorrow. Dua is not merely words whispered into the air. It is the lifeline of the believer, the rope that connects the heart directly to its Creator. When you fall to your knees and raise your hands in humility, when you call upon Allah sincerely, something remarkable happens. The heavens listen, the angels respond, and Allah, in His infinite mercy, prepares a way for you that no logic, no human effort, and no worldly key could ever unlock. What once felt impossible becomes possible, and where despair once lived, ease begins to take root. It is easy to underestimate the power of dua because it is so simple. It requires no wealth, no status, no permission, no grand setting. It only requires a heart that believes and a tongue that calls. Yet this simplicity hides a power beyond comprehension. Dua is the weapon of the believer, sharper than the strongest sword, more effective than the greatest strategy. When you turn to Allah with dua, you are not speaking to someone limited by resources or bound by circumstance. You are speaking to the one who controls the heavens and the earth, the one whose command, when He wills a thing, is only be, and it is. Allah Himself invites us, "Call upon me, I will respond to you." This is not the promise of a human being who may forget or fail to keep their word. This is the promise of the Almighty, whose word is truth. Imagine being personally invited by the King of Kings to present your needs, your fears, your hopes, your pain. Would you hesitate to accept such an invitation? Yet so often we underestimate it, turning instead to people before we turn to Allah, exhausting every option before finally raising our hands in desperation. But if we began with dua, if we understood its true power, we would see doors opening that we never imagined. There are countless examples in the Quran and the stories of the prophets where dua changed what seemed unchangeable. When Yunus was swallowed by the whale, trapped in layers of darkness, the darkness of the belly, the sea, and the night, logic said it was over. There was no escape, but logic is not greater than dua. He called out, "There is no deity except you. Glory be to you. Indeed, I have been of the wrongdoers." That dua shook the depths of the ocean. It ascended through the layers of darkness, and Allah commanded deliverance. From a prison that no key could unlock, dua opened the door. Think also of Zachariah, old in age, with his wife barren. By all worldly standards, the dream of a child was impossible. Yet he raised his hands and whispered his longing to Allah. That sincere dua was answered with the gift of Yahya, a child who would become a prophet. The lesson is clear: where human effort stops, dua begins. What reason declares impossible, Allah grants through the power of supplication. In our lives too, there are moments when every effort fails. You may knock on every door, send every request, try every path, and still find yourself stuck. It is then that dua proves its worth. Dua opens doors that have no visible locks, because the door itself was never material, it was spiritual. Allah tests us with closed paths not to destroy us, but to remind us that He alone holds the keys. When you finally turn to Him, sincerely, with humility and conviction, you find that ease appears in ways you never expected. The beauty of dua is that it is not restricted by time or place. You can call upon Allah in the depths of the night, in the middle of a crowded street, in your moments of joy, or in your hours of grief. Allah listens equally, regardless of who you are or where you are. He knows what you conceal in your heart before your lips can even form the words, and yet He loves when you ask, when you beg, when you pour out your heart to Him, because dua is a declaration of your need, and Allah loves those who acknowledge their need for Him. But dua is not magic. It requires patience and trust. Sometimes the answer comes immediately, sometimes it comes later in a form you did not expect, and sometimes Allah protects you from what you asked for because He knows it would harm you. In every case, dua is never wasted. The Prophet told us that dua is always answered. Either Allah grants you what you asked, He diverts a harm from you, or He stores a reward for you in the hereafter. In all scenarios, you win. This is the mercy of Allah, the generosity of the One who never ignores the voice of His servant. Too often, we think dua is only for times of crisis, but dua is also for times of ease. When you have food on your table, health in your body, peace in your home, that too is the time to make dua, to thank Allah, to ask Him to protect those blessings. Dua in ease strengthens you for the times of hardship. Dua in hardship reminds you of the source of relief. Both are gifts, both are acts of worship, and both bring you closer to Allah. The heart that makes dua consistently is a heart that never truly feels alone. Even when the world abandons you, even when no one understands, even when your own strength fails, dua is the reminder that you are never abandoned, Allah is always near, closer to you than your jugular vein, listening to every whisper, every sigh, every plea. To know this is to live with peace even in the midst of chaos. So when despair begins to settle in, when your path looks blocked, when your logic says there is no way forward, turn to Allah in dua, fall to your knees, raise your hands, and let your heart speak. Cry if you must, repeat your words if you need, even if all you can say is, Ya Allah, help me. That alone is enough. In that moment, you are doing more than you realize. You are unlocking a door that no earthly key could open. What dua teaches us is that ease is not always about changing circumstances. Sometimes the door that opens is not the one in the world around you, but the one in your heart. A door to patience, a door to trust, a door to serenity. Allah writes ease where despair once lived, and suddenly the problem that looked unbearable becomes something you can live with, something you can endure, something that polishes your soul instead of breaking it. Never belittle your dua, never think it too small or too great, for the one you are asking is the Lord of the worlds, the one for whom nothing is difficult. Ask for forgiveness, ask for strength, ask for guidance, ask for relief, ask for Jannah, and believe with certainty that Allah listens and that His response is always what is best for you. When you fall to your knees and call upon Allah sincerely, you are opening doors no key can unlock, and behind those doors are gifts only Allah can give. The storms of life are never meant to last forever. No matter how dark the clouds, no matter how heavy the rain, no matter how violent the winds, they all eventually pass. Your sleepless nights, your silent tears, the pain you carry in your heart that no one else sees, Allah sees them all. He knows every thought that crosses your mind, every worry that weighs on your soul, every breath you take in exhaustion. He is Al-Basir, the all-seeing, and Ar-Rahman, the most merciful. Just as the darkest night ends with the light of dawn, your storm will end with the mercy of Allah. When the storm is raging, it is easy to believe it will never stop. The thunder feels louder than your hope, and the lightning seems to shatter your strength. But Allah's mercy is eternal, far greater than any storm you could face. The storm is temporary, the pain is temporary, the tears are temporary. What lasts is Allah's love, His compassion, His plan that always works in your favor, even when you cannot see it. The test you endure now is not a punishment, but a process, shaping you, cleansing you, and drawing you closer to your Creator. Allah promises us in the Quran, indeed, with hardship comes ease. This is not just a comforting phrase, it is a divine guarantee. Ease is written into the very fabric of your struggle. Just as the storm carries within it the water that nourishes the earth, your hardships carry within them the seeds of growth, wisdom, and closeness to Allah. You may feel like you are drowning now, but soon you will realize that the rain that scared you was actually feeding the roots of your soul. Think of the trials faced by those before us. Prophet Nuh faced a storm unlike any other, waves as high as mountains. Yet that storm was not meant to destroy him, but to save him and those who believed. The very flood that seemed to wipe everything away was in fact a mercy, a means of protection and renewal. Similarly, the storms in your life may appear destructive, but they often wash away what is harmful and leave you with what is pure, what is necessary for your journey back to Allah. When you feel overwhelmed by your own storms, remember that Allah is closer to you than your jugular vein. He is not unaware of your struggles. Your tears are not wasted. Your prayers are not unheard. Even the sighs you release in exhaustion are recorded and known. Each night you spend restless, each moment you whisper Ya Allah into the darkness is a moment witnessed by the Lord of the worlds. And He, in His perfect wisdom, has already decreed when the storm will end and when the sun will rise again in your life. The mercy of Allah is not limited to removing the storm, Sometimes His mercy is in strengthening you within the storm. He gives you resilience when you feel you cannot go on. He sends you calmness in the middle of chaos. He places people around you to offer words of kindness, or He opens your heart to see blessings even while you are in pain. This is His mercy, sometimes visible, sometimes hidden, but always present. Patience during storms is not about pretending the rain does not fall, but about trusting that it will not fall forever. Patience is reminding yourself that every drop, every thunderclap, every gust of wind is under the command of Allah, and nothing happens except by His will. The one who trusts Allah in the storm will never be left abandoned. Even when it feels endless, even when every attempt to find shelter seems to fail, Allah Himself is the shelter for those who run to Him. Often, when the storm passes, you realize you have changed. You are no longer the same person you were before it began. Your faith is deeper, your heart softer, your vision clearer. The storm was temporary, but the lessons it left are permanent, and above all, the mercy of Allah that carried you through it becomes etched into your soul. You learn that your strength was never truly your own, it was always Him, guiding you, protecting you, loving you through every step. Sometimes the storm does not pass in the way you expect. You pray for a specific outcome, but Allah grants you something different. You ask for the storm to end immediately, but Allah allows it to linger while He builds you through it. This too is mercy. For if every dua was answered exactly as we requested, we would be harmed by our own short-sightedness. Allah, in His eternal mercy, gives not only according to your request, but according to your need, your future, your salvation. And when you realize that, your heart rests even when the clouds have not yet cleared. Remember that even in the darkest of nights, the stars still shine. Even in the strongest storm, there are still signs of Allah's care. The very breath you take in the middle of hardship is a mercy. The fact that you can still turn to Allah in dua is a mercy. The faith that whispers within you, "Do not give up, Allah is with you," is itself a mercy. His mercy surrounds you in ways you may not notice until much later. So do not despair when the storm surrounds you. Do not think that Allah has abandoned you. He is watching, He is protecting, and He is preparing something better than what you can imagine. Just as the dawn always comes after the night, His mercy always follows the test. And when it arrives, you will look back at the storm not with bitterness, but with gratitude, because it taught you to lean on Him, to seek Him, to know Him in ways you never did before. Your sleepless nights, your silent tears, your weary heart, all of them are seen by Allah. And just as surely as the sun rises after the darkest night, your storm will end with His mercy, and His mercy will remain with you forever. Worry is like a thief that enters the heart quietly, stealing away peace, stealing away hope, and leaving behind fear and restlessness. It makes the mind race in circles, imagining outcomes that may never happen, magnifying problems until they seem larger than life. The believer's heart was never created to live in constant worry. It was created to find tranquility in the remembrance of Allah, to find strength in patience, and to find certainty in His plan. The moment you stop overthinking and start trusting, miracles unfold. What once seemed unbearable becomes manageable. What once felt like endless darkness begins to shine with light, and what once drowned you in sorrow lifts you to a higher place of faith. Allah transforms lives when a believer moves from worry to patience. He replaces fear with courage, sorrow with hope, and pain with wisdom. But this transformation requires surrender. It requires the heart to say, "Ya Allah, I leave my affairs in your hands." This is not a surrender of weakness. It is a surrender of trust in the one whose mercy is greater than your mistakes, whose wisdom is greater than your understanding, and whose power is beyond anything your mind can comprehend. There is a verse in the Quran that touches the heart deeply, And whoever relies upon Allah, then He is sufficient for him. These words are a promise, not a suggestion. If you place your reliance on Allah, He will be enough for you. Not enough in a limited sense, but enough in the fullest, most complete sense. Enough to carry your burdens, enough to ease your pain, enough to replace what you lost with something better. But the key lies in letting go of constant worry and embracing patience with trust. The story of Musa reminds us of this truth. Standing before the Red Sea with Pharaoh's army behind him, the people cried out in fear, convinced that destruction was certain. Logic said there was no escape. But Musa, with patience and trust in Allah, declared, "Indeed, with me is my Lord. He will guide me." In that moment, worry could have drowned him, but patience elevated him. And what happened? The sea split, a miracle beyond comprehension. Allah transformed a hopeless situation into salvation. This is what happens when the heart moves from worry to patience. Doors open where none existed before. Patience is not merely waiting. Patience is believing that Allah's timing is perfect. Worry wants everything to change immediately, demanding answers, demanding outcomes, demanding clarity. Patience, however, accepts that Allah's wisdom unfolds in its own time, that every delay carries meaning, and that every unanswered prayer is not ignored but stored, redirected, or replaced with something greater. When the heart settles into patience, it begins to see beauty even in waiting, because waiting itself becomes an act of worship. When you allow patience to replace worry, you notice that your heart softens. Fear no longer controls you, sorrow no longer drowns you. Instead, courage grows where fear once lived, hope rises where sorrow once sat, and wisdom blossoms where pain once cut deep. Allah replaces your weakness with strength, your confusion with clarity, and your despair with faith. This transformation is not sudden. It is gradual, like the dawn that breaks after a long night. And when it comes, it fills your life with peace you never thought possible. Every one of us faces trials, financial struggles, broken relationships, health challenges, loss of loved ones, inner battles that no one else knows about. Worrying about them will not change the outcome, but patience transforms the way we experience them. A heart trapped in worry sees only obstacles. A heart nurtured by patience sees opportunities to grow closer to Allah, to strengthen faith, and to discover hidden blessings. The Prophet said, "How wonderful is the affair of the believer! For him there is good in all circumstances, and this is not the case with anyone except the believer. If prosperity attends him, he expresses gratitude to Allah, and that is good for him, and if adversity befalls him, he endures it patiently, and that is better for him." This hadith shows us that the believer's life is never wasted. Whether in ease or in hardship, whether in joy or in pain, everything becomes a source of goodness when the heart embraces patience. Overthinking is one of the greatest causes of inner turmoil. The mind races ahead, imagining outcomes, rehearsing fears, replaying failures. It convinces you that you are powerless, that your problems are too big, that your future is bleak. But Allah reminds us again and again, do not despair of the mercy of Allah. The mercy of Allah is far greater than the worries of your mind. When you silence the endless noise of overthinking and focus instead on remembering Allah, you discover a serenity that worry could never provide. From worry to patience, the transformation is profound. Imagine a person who once spent sleepless nights pacing, worrying about tomorrow. That same person, when they turn to Allah, begins to sleep peacefully, not because the problems disappeared, but because their heart has surrendered. The storms may still rage, but their soul is anchored. The pain may still exist, but it no longer defines them. They walk with dignity, they speak with calmness, they live with faith, because Allah has transformed their worry into patience. This transformation also teaches empathy. When you yourself have endured pain and Allah has carried you through, you begin to look at others with softer eyes. You become more compassionate, more willing to forgive, more ready to help. Your hardship becomes a source of wisdom, guiding not only you but those around you. In this way, Allah uses your trials not only to build you, but to uplift others through you. What once felt like a curse becomes a blessing, a gift hidden in the folds of hardship. The believer who moves from worry to patience becomes an example to others. People see in them a calmness that cannot be explained, a light that shines even in difficulty, a strength that is not their own but comes from Allah. Such a believer reminds the world that faith is not about being free of problems, but about being free within problems. That freedom comes when you stop overthinking, stop drowning in fear, and start trusting in the mercy and wisdom of Allah. So whenever worry tries to take hold of your heart, remind yourself that it will not help you. Let patience be your companion. Let trust be your shield. Let faith guide your steps. The moment you choose patience over worry, you allow Allah to transform your life in ways you could never have imagined. Fear will be replaced with courage, sorrow will be replaced with hope, and pain will be replaced with wisdom. The moment you stop overthinking and start trusting, miracles unfold. Jazakallahu khairan for being here. May Allah bless you with peace, patience, and endless mercy. Until next time, keep your heart connected to Him. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.